Welcome to the Plates and PRs podcast.
We're here to provide you with expert insights and actionable tips to boost your training and cultivate a healthy relationship with food for peak performance and overall wellness.
Get ready to lift, learn, and exceed your limits.
Let's go. I wake up to a little.
All right. Welcome to Plates and PRs, formerly Iron Movement. We're really excited. We have Jordyn Schumm here today. She is the owner of CrossFit East Nashville. And we're just really excited. We've started kind of a new branch with Iron Movement. We've transitioned over to Plates and PRs. And one of the things we want to do is just interview athletes, owners about how they got into CrossFit, what they're doing, and what their goals are. And so, Jordyn, we're excited to have you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. Love you both and what you're doing with Plates and PR. So I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about how you, tell us what you did before CrossFit. Let's get into that first.
Yes, most of us have a backstory. I was a collegiate athlete. I played lacrosse. I was through middle school, high school, and college. That was my sport. I did play basketball as well, but the one that translated into college was lacrosse. So
okay.
I enjoyed hitting people with sticks.
That's pretty awesome. Where did you play at in college?
Stanford University in Birmingham.
Nice.
So yeah, so it was fun. I've always been in that athletic mindset of I enjoy training. I enjoy having goals to follow after. I enjoy having a coach telling me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always been a part of my story. And so like many collegiate athletes, when you get out of college, you're not really sure what to do. There's a little bit of that unknown, you kind of flounder and everyone becomes a runner for a little bit. It's just like part of it, right?
Exactly what happened to me.
Yep. I guess we run half marathons now. I don't know. I guess it's just what we do. So I did that for a while, and through a lot of provision, including meeting my now husband, John, found CrossFit.
Okay. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Kat, you kind of went through the same, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And same thing with running. I did a half marathon. I was like, oh, not too sure about that, but found lifting and then found CrossFit, and yeah, just loved it from there. How long were you doing CrossFit until you realized I want to spend more time and put more time and work into this and maybe move into that coaching sphere?
Yeah, it was actually pretty early on. So I was a teacher as well. I have a degree in teaching. And so that world of coaching, I coached basketball when I did teach as well. So that coaching world has always been a part of my story too. So I was joined CrossFit East Nashville in 2018 and was a coach by 2019. So it was a pretty quick turnaround of, oh, I love this. I love what it means for me and my life. I want to then also coach and help others in the same space. So it was a pretty quick transition. Probably within 18 months, had approached the previous owners and just said, hey, how do I do this? What is an L1? And, how do I move forward with that?
I feel like we're kind of an avatar because I was also a teacher, like collegiate athlete. I only played at a junior college level, but played basketball.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, floundered. Just what do I do? 3, 4, 5 hours of my day was dedicated to training, and now that's all gone.
Yeah.
What does this look like now? And so that same, I dabbled in the running, dabbled in bodybuilding, but none of it gave me that camaraderie or community that I was looking for.
Totally.
And so it wasn't until I found CrossFit where I'm like, oh, this reminds me of team sports, where kind of that shared suffering. I'm cheering for you, but I also want to beat you because I want that starting spot.
Yes,
right?
for sure.
So just funny because I was also a school teacher. What grade did you teach?
Middle school. I was like 6th through 8th.
No way.
Yeah.
So did I.
How have we not talked about this?
What subject?
English.
Okay, I was science.
Good. We could have been on the same team for that too. That's
right?
Perfect.
So
I love that.
Taught middle school for a couple of years. And then, Vince and I opened up our gym. And so kind of that same thing where I was just like, I want to teach, but fitness.
Yes, exactly. It's still a way to portray information in a way for someone to learn that they didn't know before. And that aha moment where that cue that finally sticks, that the light bulb moment is still so sweet, whether it's a 12-year-old kid in English class or 50-year-old man with a box jump. And it's like, yes, you still get to have that moment with them.
And more willing participants.
Yes. They're choosing to be here versus our sweet middle schoolers that have no choice. You have to listen. Sorry.
And then especially in the just college sphere, it's a lot easier, I think, for most people to have that community and that friendship, make friends. And then once you graduate, you start with work. Sometimes that can be really challenging for a lot of people. And so that's a huge reason why I do CrossFit. And I have a gym in my garage, but the amount of time that I actually use it compared to going to the CrossFit gym is very different.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were actually just talking about that with a couple of members here at the gym, that we all have equipment at home, but part of it is the social aspect and community that the gym offers
Totally.
that is really unmatched. And I think especially if you came from team sports and that's something you grew up with, then that transition coming into CrossFit really helps with that. And I, not to say that other sports don't do that. I know powerlifting community is strong, weightlifting community is strong, but those are reasons why people stay within those fitness, so I always think that's really cool.
Well, it's just harder to make friends as an adult, right?
Yes.
We kind of find our rhythm with our job or, your family, and it's harder to then be like, well, then who are my people outside of that? And so CrossFit creates a great space to find your new besties. And
yes.
To your point, shared suffering, something we love doing together. And yeah, I would much rather work out here than at my home gym any day of the week.
Absolutely.
Meet people that you never would have met outside
Oh,
of that,
totally.
so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love that.
So when you who introduced you to CrossFit? Who said, hey, come and try this out? I think you might like it.
Well, I'd had multiple people tell me that. I'd had a lot of people try, and they were like, I think you're going to be really good at it. I think you're really going to like it. And I was like, no. That's that thing that people get hurt. And I was like, I don't do that. And so it really was John. So yeah, it really was him, that final push. And because he was coaching functional fitness. So he already understood this world of CrossFit, and he was very into the documentaries and like following the top games athletes too. So he was much more in that world before I was. And so we started dating, and again, floundering with running, and I was weightlifting in the Y by myself, things like that. But he was the one to finally be like, no, you live 4 minutes from CrossFit East Nashville. You're going to come to, I think we came on a July 4th weekend and did the Chief.
Okay.
Was my first
great work.
That was my first workout ever in CrossFit, was the Chief. And immediately fell in love. It was just one of those things where, in hindsight, why didn't I start this sooner? Why did I wait so long? Why did I push back so much when people tried to get me to come and I didn't want to? So yeah, he was the push.
The catalyst.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe you heard of it being kind of culty or something. Or
Kat has a similar story. She was like terrified to come to CrossFit.
I thought that they were just going to tell me I had to eat bacon and do paleo and get rhabdo and throw up. And
yes, rhabdo is required. That's part of it. No, it's true. And it's just unfortunate that is often the stigma. And I think it's getting better the longer the sport sticks around and the community sticks around, that people are realizing that that's not the case. And oftentimes, at least what have learned in the last 6 years, is that what gets you hurt is your ego. It's not the class. It's not the movements or the workouts. It's your ego. So as long as we're willing to be humble enough to say, you know what, I probably shouldn't lift that today, or I'm not quite strong enough to do this movement. It's a lot longer game plan and more sustainable that way. Yeah. So super grateful for that final moment of actually checking it out and realizing this is what I was looking for. This was I needed the measurable growth, right? Because I had tried other things, and running has measurable growth where you can get faster. I might also try like boxing classes, but there's no way to really measure growth other than like I'm punching harder and faster. But what does that mean? Like, how am I actually getting better? And I loved the part about CrossFit that allowed me to see, okay, I was back squatting 200 and now I can back squat 250 over the course of this many months. And you can just see the actual tangible, measurable markers. And so for me, at least as an athlete, that really was beneficial. And then on top of that, then you get to walk in and someone just tells you what to do again, right? There's your coach being like, okay, warm up, let's go. Here's your workout for the day. So I can turn my brain off. I can let the stress go and just be an athlete for an hour. And
they'll push you. They'll add weight to you if they know that you can handle it.
Yes, no, you can do this.
And
Right, exactly. Which you're not going to do to yourself usually. So I definitely fulfilled of this piece that I think had been missing since college, where I knew I still wanted that. I don't think that part goes away just because you become an adult and we get jobs and have to work. It's like, no, there's still a part of you that enjoys that part. And so having 1 hour of the day where you get to still be that is pretty sweet.
So Jordyn, do you compete?
I do. Yes.
Okay. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So speaking of just being competitive, right? Like anytime I can, I'm going to want to get in that space and see how I compare and match up. Mostly local stuff. I mean, I obviously do the open through quarterfinals and all of that. But obviously found CrossFit a little late in life. So as far as like, could I have seen something different if I'd started at 18 or something, maybe, but at 27 and now 30 at 34, just finding what field and what areas I can compete in that makes sense. And so I do work full time. And so being able to, train and go to semis is not really on my radar. But within the local space, like how to, a local box puts on a comp, I'm going to try and sign up, especially before I had my daughter. I was the person, like, it was kind of a running joke of like, if you want to do a comp, ask Jordyn to do it with you because she will say yes. So back when, with more free time, I was always doing something, whether, just a local or box league that would be, once a week for 4 or 5 weeks, things like that.
Yeah,
so
that was a pretty cool. I really like that concept of box league. So hopefully that comes back next year.
We'll see.
We'll see. I know how, so, when we first started, so we opened our gym in Kansas in 2012. And there were very few local competitions. And now you can really find one every weekend. Yes. And then they have places that have very large ones that are really for, from scaled athletes all the way to pro. Mm-hmm. And those athletes like to go to those. And I'm guilty of that too. I'll go down to Texas for the fittest games. Because of how big it is and what they put on. And so trying to do these small local comps, really they've gotten almost kind of pushed out of the market with those larger kind of mid-level comps that they just, if you have a lot of funding, you can put on, have big prize purses.
Yes.
So
it brings a lot of athletes into them.
Exactly. And those smaller comps, you're just not going to get as much participation in anymore, but
I know. And especially even with somewhere like Nashville, we're very much a hub, but even so, I feel like the smaller ones are starting to fade out. And it is just, you're seeing these big, maybe once or twice a year comps, or you're traveling out of state or something to go to those.
Exactly. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you transitioned from coach and then how you and John decided, hey, we think we might be interested in becoming owners.
Yeah. So funny enough, when we started dating, probably within the first 2 dates, John told me like, hey, I just need you to know one of my like long-term dreams, like my bucket list is to own a gym one day. And I'm like, okay, cool, great. And the way we talked about it was always very much in the future, like in our 40s, 50s, we're well established. It's going to be something we open from scratch. It'll be 100 members and we'll call it a day, and it'll be ministry and it'll be, community center. So we definitely had the dream. It was always kind of this thing in the back of our minds in our relationship. Like, this is something we will do. It's just not on the timeline we thought it was going to be on. But when God puts something in your lap and the timing is different, you need to listen. And so for us, both of us were coaching here. I had been a long-term member. John had been, I had been here for 5, he'd been here for 3. We'd both been coaches. So we're very intricately involved in the community and with the staff and the owners. Yeah. And so learning that they were in a place to step away was, one of those moments where we had to just reevaluate our timeline versus like our expectations versus what was being kind of presented to us. And we are very fortunate with our third piece of the ownership team, Christian. He's our CFO and was able to kind of give us confidence of like everyone bringing their expertise to this team to then move forward with an offer to purchase. And realizing that, one, this is one of the most unique and special places, and we're being handed a specific moment in time with our giftings. Like, is this something we should move forward with? So a lot of conversations, a lot of thought, a lot of prayer to decide like, okay, I think this is it. I don't want to look back and regret that we didn't move forward with an opportunity like this. And so it's way bigger than we had planned. This is not, we're much younger and this is much bigger, but no regrets at all. The moment that we move forward and, you officially sign the paper, and that moment of, we're so lucky to be the stewards for this place. Like, it's not ours. I mean, on paper, right? Like, we are a business owner, but we're just the ones who are lucky enough to steward these people in this place. And so I think we're all kind of pinching ourselves. Like, we still turn and look at each other and like, we get to do this. Like, how cool that we get to make these decisions and be a part of the change in this area, and specifically within our little bubble. Right. And yeah, it's one of those moments where you're just like, I know that if I'd had it my way, it wouldn't have looked exactly like this, but I'm so grateful that it turned out the way it did. And so, yes, I think if you had talked to me like 3 years ago and been like, hey, you want to do this? I would have been like, there's no way that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it kind of just fell into place over time. And so that was in August. So we're coming up on
Coming up on a
almost
year.
the end of a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was something that surprised you? Like maybe that you weren't expecting? I feel like I know you. Do you own a business with your other full-time job, or are you part? I know you're with real estate.
Yeah.
But do you own that company?
I do not. I'm in
Okay.
business development for them. So I do get to see the behind the scenes a lot because we're small. So you do get to see behind the curtain with them. John is, a realtor. So he is full-time self-employed. So he is running his own business as well.
Okay.
But very different than this as far as like the behind the scenes, which I know
surprised you most? Or what you weren't expecting as a gym owner?
It's a good question. I mean, there is a lot more to it, but I kind of knew that. Like, you don't really know what specifically is going to be the things that take up your time. So I think I knew, oh, this is going to be a commitment of my time. I just didn't know to the extent or what that would end up looking like, or how quickly people go through chalk. How about that? That was surprising. No, just
ours is toilet paper.
Yeah, toilet
Like,
paper.
what are y'all doing in there?
All over their body.
I literally just ordered Costco size toilet paper for you last week. How are we already here? Yeah, the reordering of supplies is much more quickly than I thought. But I was honestly surprised in a positive way with how many people were supportive of us. Because, you're taking over a previous owner's culture and their gym, what they built from scratch, which was incredible. And so to take that over, there's that fear of no one is going to be behind us. Everybody's going to leave. You have all those doubts and fears in your head. So I think I was pleasantly surprised with how many people just rallied behind us. And I think part of that is like, it was kind of stayed in the family, right?
I was going to say,
knew us.
you've been there for so long, you were ingrained in the community. And I think that makes a huge difference.
Totally.
It wasn't like a brand new, like random person kind of coming in, random to them.
Yes, right. If someone from out of our community came in to purchase, doesn't know the history, doesn't know the culture, I think it could have been more of that. And so I think the fact that so many people stepped up to be like, well, how can we help? And, how do we be a part of this to help you? Because we know it's going to be, transition's hard. And so those first 3 months are definitely like getting your feet underneath you.
Yeah.
Where are the holes we need to plug? And so we have an incredible coaching staff. I mean, we couldn't do it without them.
Yeah.
So having incredible coaches and then members who just said, we're with you. We're not going anywhere. Like, we're here. And so that was a pleasant surprise on the other side of it, of just like, oh, wow. Like, okay, this we can do. If everyone's with us, like, let's ride.
Exactly. So not exact same fear, but when Vince and I opened our gym in Kansas, it was that same, like, are people going to come?
Right.
It's a tiny, tiny town. So I remember when we first opened, we were charging like $65 a month.
Yeah.
And we had people tell us people are not going to pay that. They're not going to pay $65 to come to a gym.
Wow.
And we were like terrified. Like, maybe we are not, maybe they're right,
Mm-hmm.
And so we got this like hole in the wall building that the lady allowed us to do month to month rent. And we didn't have to sign. That came to bite us in the butt later, because once we polished that turd for her, she kicked us out.
Of course.
But also it gave us that like freedom to say, well, let's try it. The worst thing, like, if we fail, we fail.
Right.
But we got to go for it, you know? But same thing, like, are people going to come? Are people going to support us? And you see people come in and you're like, okay, this is working.
Mm-hmm.
So
kind of reminds me of throwing a party or something, but on a much bigger scale. That's terrifying.
Yes, no, that was literally what I was going to say is the analogy. It's like when you plan for a party for months and you get it ready and do all these things. And then the night of the event, you're like, no one's coming.
Right.
Like all the food's going to waste.
Talk about RSVPing.
Yes.
So you don't really know. You're like, I don't know. People don't RSVP.
And then the people who didn't RSVP come. And then the people who did RSVP end up bailing or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now that you're coach, owner, competitor, mother, how do you balance? I actually hate the word work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a whole podcast episode about my rant with work-life balance.
We need to do another one. It's time for another rant.
We all need that reminder.
It's one of those things that I think they put on moms.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really hear work-life balance with fathers. So anyway, but you are working, you have lots of hats. So there is some sort of balance, or at least juggling that has to go on. How do you juggle kind of all of these things that take up a lot of your time?
Yeah, it's a great question. Getting much better at saying no.
Boundaries.
Boundaries. It's real because all of a sudden you saying yes to that side project or that one random invite is you saying no to your family, or it's saying no to your athletic goals, or no to your job. And so I have spent a lot of years saying yes to a lot of things. I am very capable. I can take a lot on my plate. And so it's like, sure, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. And now being in a position where we are, where specifically with the gym and specifically with having a kid, those are not non-negotiables as far as
Right.
where my focus is, what my priorities are, and where the impact is. And so if there are other things calling for my attention that are going to then deplete my ability to be a good mom and to be a good gym owner, like I'm going to say no. And so I'm getting better at that. I do have a literal paper calendar that gets printed off each week. You have your Outlook calendar that's
Right.
got it all digital. And then the week before on a Friday afternoons, I look at the entire week and I say, okay, here are the things that are like staples of what's need to happen. And let me build backwards through my week of what needs to be accomplished throughout the different tasks of the day. And then if this stuff from Monday doesn't make it, cool, that I can make it to Tuesday. And so it does become a little bit of a list game in priorities of, okay, these things have to happen today in order for life to continue.
Right.
And these things can move. And that keeps me sane. I think if I was trying to keep it all in my brain of, oh, I need to get this done, but I can't really remember it all. So the list and writing things down has really helped a lot.
Definitely. So you're a check the block kind of person.
Yours?
I need the little dopamine.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I did it. Yep.
I'm
So
glad I'm not the only one who
Yep.
says that.
Yep, totally.
And it's just not the same virtually. It's just not.
It's
Having
not.
it.
No, it's not.
You got to write it down.
Yep, there's something to that. And if nothing else, it gets out of my brain and I know it's somewhere on paper so I can come back to it later.
Mhm.
And so when I am with you right now, or if I'm coaching a class or I'm with Eden, you guys get the attention because I've already written it down. It will get done eventually, but my focus and attention can be on whoever I'm with.
I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that helps a lot.
Well, we appreciate that.
My,
Appreciate taking
my
the time for that.
ADHD brain, I think, would really appreciate that.
Yes, because it might go away.
It'll keep like, don't forget.
And it's like this little alarm going off in your head. Because even for me, I don't have ADHD, but I still have that feeling of like, don't forget, like you have to get this done. And so having it, whether it's a note on your phone or something you can write it down,
for sure.
be able to say, I will get back to this. It does exist now outside of my mind that I can focus and get the thing to shut up. So.
Yeah.
So as an owner now, what were some things that you wanted to keep transitioning from old owners to new? What are some things that you guys have focused on creating at the gym now that it's yours?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like the previous culture, there was this beautiful relationship of there is competitive athletes here, there is a competitive culture, but it is still welcoming. And so you can be at any athletic level and you're going to make friends. There's going to be people for you. And so that was something we wanted to keep. We didn't want divisiveness. We wanted it to be very safe. That was our big word, was like, you belong here, you are safe here. And so we wanted to continue to keep that feeling. And then as far as changes we made, we've added like some more ways to build in that community. So we're really intentional with our social committee. So we have a crew of people that kind of run that for us. And so they plan social events to hang out outside the gym. And we do a post-workout huddle breakdown. So every day after, or every class, we break it down and we say, East on 3, 1, 2, 3, East. And so it's just a moment of closure and cohesion. So we added that.
True group training right there.
Yes.
Like coming from a team aspect, I can see that.
Yeah. And it's been, what's been really cool about that, because you make changes and you're like, again, people are not going to like this, or you're going to get pushback. And we did. But the coolest part about all of it was coaches in that breakdown take a moment to acknowledge somebody in the class. So Ryan just got his first handstand push-up ever. Ryan, break it down for us, or whoever, and so it's this moment to acknowledge a specific athlete. And so they may not feel seen the rest of the day, but in that moment, in that class, they were seen. And so we get to celebrate them. And so that ends up being the coolest part about the breakdown. And if you don't love it, okay, don't be a part of it. It's fine. And that's not going to hurt anybody if you choose not to be a part of it. But for the people who do choose to be a part of it, it can have a pretty big impact.
Yeah, it's funny how something so small can be very impactful,
Yeah.
especially when you do it every day, that
Yep.
consistency.
Yeah.
It sounds
Yeah.
like
And I
you
didn't-
really cultivated that third space that we're hearing a lot about lately, that it's not home and it's not work, but that third place or
Yeah.
space that really fosters that community and builds that community. And it's so important. That's not virtual.
Exactly. And two, the victories you have in the gym carry over to who you are and the victories you have outside of it. Right. And so knowing you can do hard things in the gym and then having people support you in that, then I can go into a hard work situation or a hard family situation or a hard friend situation and come with this extra momentum that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And so that part has been fun to add in the acknowledgement of that after classes. And so we're just continuing to build structure too. I think that we've been really intentional about delegating. So coaches have a lot more responsibility on their plate, and
Okay.
we have coaches meetings every month, and we're doing one-on-one meetings with them too. So it's very intentional about building them as coaches development, which then trickles down, right? So if we're at the top, we're trying to create and foster that with our coaches, and then they go and foster that with each of the athletes and members from there. So it's little things along the way. We're about to do a big change with Wodify. We're going to be moving softwares. So that'll be a good change for everybody. So I think being mindful of change fatigue, like not changing everything, right? So
Right.
that was when we took over, we knew it was like, we have to be super mindful of how often we're changing things, because there's a reason the gym is so successful and we're not trying to take that away. So let's be respectful of that and then tweak and adjust as needed, but we're not going to just do this overhaul and,
Right.
pull the rug out from people. So it was very intentional of things that we need to change, we will, but there's a reason why this place is so well loved. And so let's try to hold on to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. That was great. So we're going to go a little left now. We're going to talk about the plate part. We
Yes.
talked about PRs. Let's
Yes.
talk about plates.
Love
How
it.
do you approach your nutrition?
Yeah. I think like many women, especially, but it's probably, I know men deal with it too. I spent a lot of high school and college with disordered eating. I wouldn't necessarily call it an eating disorder, but it was a
Right.
disordered eating of trying to take up less space. I wanted to be as small as I possibly could be. It was about a number on the scale. It was how little could I eat?
And if you guys have ever seen Jordyn in real life, y'all, she's fucking hot. Like she is built. We
friend.
all want to be big like Jordyn.
Whatever.
No, seriously.
I'm trying to be you when I grow up.
So you've got like the biggest arms ever.
Which
We're
is
all
such-
jealous.
Which is such a compliment now, right?
It
If you had said that to me 10 years ago, I would have been like, oh my gosh, what? No, don't say my arms are big. So thank you. That's very
Yes.
sweet. But that has been a journey too, because I've always been strong. I've always been tall, and I have had bigger legs. I played sports, so I was semi-muscular. And so I was always very frustrated by how my legs looked in jeans, and they did not look like my friends' legs or whatever the case may be. And so I spent many, many years of my life trying to be smaller. And it was miserable. And I mean, especially my early years teaching, it was like, how few calories can I eat without like completely falling apart? And that doesn't help anybody. I
Right.
wasn't able to be fully present with my kids or with any kind of athletic endeavor. It was like, I'm too tired because I don't have any energy. So
do you ever think how much different your career in sports would be had you not had that? Because I think about
Oh
that
my
all the
gosh,
time.
yes.
Like maybe if I wasn't starving all the time, I might have been better at basketball.
Probably. Oh,
I could have ran line drills a little faster.
100%. There's no question, because for me, working out or even playing sports was almost like, oh, I've earned the right to eat poorly, or I worked off that thing I ate before. It was very much a reward and punishment system. And so I spent a lot of my life with an unhealthy relationship with food because of that, of like, oh, you deserve this or you don't deserve this, or
Right.
the all or nothing mindset of I'm just going to not eat any of this and then fall off the deep end because now, well, screw it. I did really well for 6 days. So this one day I can, do whatever.
Start again Monday.
Yeah, just start over. And so I think that's been my favorite benefit of CrossFit, was that I was walking into a space where like, well, I want to be built like her. Like if I want to be able to back squat that, I have to eat. I need energy to do this. It no longer was a question of what does my body look like, but what is my body capable of? And so it totally changed my mindset. One, you're burning more burning more just from the muscle you're building. So you're hungrier and need to refuel to make that happen.
Right.
But realizing that that's okay and saying like, I'm going to actively pursue fuel so that I can take up more space because it is actually beautiful to be strong and not like I need to be this, stick thin Barbie doll, so, that has been such a freeing process for me and such a joy to then bring home for Eden. I have a daughter now. And so creating a space for her, she grows up where it's like, yeah, we're going to eat. Now we're going to be smart about what we eat. Our general rule of thumb is how close to its original form can we get? So if that's a plant from the ground or something that had a face, like we're going to go for, like that, we want to go back to its most original form. If we're eating,
As a
processed.
priority.
Yeah, exactly. Like let those
Most
be
of
the
the
top layer. And then obviously there's processed stuff that comes along with that.
Right.
And we do eat the pizza and we have ice cream. It's not like there's none of that, but you keep it within reason and proportion of what your goals are.
Yeah.
So
100%.
yeah, I don't even know if that's really answering the question of what you said.
No,
or
it
what
does.
you asked me.
No, it does. I thought it was a great explanation. How do you feel for your training? I know she's a 5 a.m.er, y'all. I used to be a 5 a.m.er, but I can't do it anymore.
No.
Yeah.
So Jordyn's a diehard 5 a.m.er. What do you do prior? Do you eat anything prior to coming?
I do. I do a protein bar.
Okay.
On my way in with some water and coffee. So
Okay.
coffee's my pre-workout.
Same.
What's your favorite protein bar?
We're really into the Think bars.
Okay. Yeah, those are good.
Yeah, I've been into those. The Think bars are great. So my overarching goal is hitting a certain protein number because people have asked me that before. They're like, what are your macros? Like, do you track your food and all that? And I think there's a season for that to like learn your patterns. I'm currently in a season of I'm just trying to get as much protein in my mouth as possible. So, and everything in its season, I think there are places for the macro tracking for sure. And so I think finding something that is sustainable for you and not feeling like you're being held hostage by the systems you created where, oh no, I can't do this, or I don't know. Finding it as something what I get to do. Right. And I think that's the reframing, especially for women. It's what do you get to do because you chose to eat this instead of that, instead of, oh, well, I have to do this because I'm trying to look a certain way or fit in a certain clothing.
I love that.
So one of our favorite questions is asking athletes on game day, like, what are your favorite snacks before? We've had answers, everything from a specific candy bar to a specific kind of cereal, like Lucky Charms or something. Do you have a comp day carb that you really like?
Yeah, I'm really boring. It's nothing crazy, but I like bananas are like a good, easy sugar for me. I don't like to do anything that's out of the ordinary because I don't want my stomach to be upset. So it's like the same protein bar, the same protein shakes, electrolyte drinks, and then, some kind of banana or apple, something like that. So I'm sorry, it's super boring answer.
The popular thing at CrossFit East Nashville that I've been put onto is the Trader Joe's Swedish fish.
Yeah.
Hammers. People have bags of them in their backpacks,
like huge
2-pound bags. I'm like, where do you get? I was new and we don't have Trader Joe's back home. Yeah, and they were like, oh, it's at Trader Joe's. And I swear every time we go, they would be gone. And I'm like, all the CrossFitters are taking them.
It reminds me of Laura, who should focus on the gummy bears. That was hers, but kind of similar thing.
Yeah, the gummy bears are like a Sour Patch Kids, something like that. Yeah.
I love that.
I know. I don't have any. I mean, I would eat those too for sure. I feel like I just go for anything that I know is going to like sit well in my stomach. I'm not trying to do anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah, no new things on
game
day. Yeah, exactly. Lots of coffee. Coffee is like my favorite treat, but even that, it's black coffee, so it's not even like it's anything crazy, but that's my favorite.
You have no soul.
I know.
I drink it black too.
You should know this.
I drink it black too. Yeah, it's the whole experience, the flavor, it's just amazing.
Yeah,
I think because I don't like black coffee or beer, and they're on the same, that bitter. I just I need a little bit of cream.
Yeah, that's allowed.
Yeah, just 1 tablespoon. That's all I do.
If it's iced, then I'll do some. But
okay,
iced is another animal for sure. Yeah.
So I have a question, kind of going back.
Yes,
is that good?
Go ahead, Kat. Sorry, I thought we were done.
No. So you had mentioned that the environment, there was that competitive side to it. Did you have another gym beforehand?
No, this is the only gym I've ever been a part of.
Okay. I don't know what I want to ask or how I want to word that, but
like, are you asking if there was like a separation or
like how, Yeah, was that something that made you want to pursue CrossFit more, even like seeing them train and seeing them at the game, seeing them on TV, and also seeing them in person consistently?
I don't think so. Honestly, for me, the most motivational people are other moms and other women who are working full time and also badass. Like that feels more achievable. Whereas like the games athletes are doing this full time, like this is their full time job. So they are motivating in the sense of like what is capable for humans. But I don't find that same motivation as far as like what I can personally then do, because I am not a professional athlete. So it'd be like me seeing LeBron James and being like, he's super motivating, like he's a great athlete, but I know that I don't work full time playing basketball. But if I can see that, someone else who's in a similar life stage is able to dunk, okay, well then I'm going to at least be motivated to try that because it feels more achievable. So I think for me, what we've been so blessed with is this top tier level of normal humans within it. So we've had games athletes within our space, but we also have like everyday humans who have had kids or have full-time jobs that are also incredible athletes.
Yeah.
And so that has been, for me personally, that's been where I've found the most motivation.
Yeah, that's so true. The level of just pure athleticism in the gym with people who work out an hour a day is just, phenomenal. You go to most gyms and you might see one or two women doing muscle ups,
right,
cleaning heavy weight. And then I remember the first time I walk into this gym and there's probably 12 girls knocking out ring muscle ups all in the workout. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the CrossFit Mecca right now.
And they're normal women.
Yeah, and they're like, after the workout, they're showering and going to their job.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yes.
It was so impressive.
Yeah. And I think that's what changes or reframes what you know of yourself and what you're capable of, because it's the everyday women who are, we've got people in our gym who can, a female athlete who can snatch 200 pounds. Mm-hmm. Before she came to our gym, I would have told you, I will snatch 145. I will never be able to snatch more than that. Like that's a lot of weight. And it is, that's incredible. But having someone else in the gym, the moment she walked in there, it was like new possibilities opened up.
Yeah.
Okay, well then maybe I should go for a little heavier. And, then your numbers change just by seeing someone else do it. And we've been very fortunate. So of the members we have, I think this year, just to put it in perspective, most gyms probably had, and you could speak to that too from Junction City, but probably 5 to 10 people make quarterfinals.
Right.
We had 48. So it's just like things like that, where it's like, it's so cool. Everyone rises because they see it and they're like, well, shoot, if they can do ring muscle ups, I'm going to at least try.
Right.
Versus if you're in a space where the top person is only able to do certain things, then that's what you shoot for. And that's normal. We just are very fortunate that our ceiling, both figuratively and metaphorically, is very high.
Yes, it is.
It is a pretty tall building.
Our rope climbs go real tall. So yes, there's that too. Yeah. Yeah. That was a great question though. Thanks for asking that, Kat.
I know when I visited, so I've just been there, just visiting, but seeing some of the games athletes there, it was like, oh, they're right there.
Oh, yeah, there they are. Yeah. Yeah. And they are real people. Like they're just humans. They just happen to be extremely talented in this area. And so that part has been fun too, to build relationships with athletes and see them on a personal level outside of who they are as an athlete. And I love that part of it. It becomes much more relational. So then when we do go see them at the games or at semifinals, that it's that much more investment in them as a person, because you know them and who they are outside. And
you kind of get to see like everything. You get to, on Instagram, you get to see the highlight reels, which are awesome. But here you get to see the tears and the frustration and the hard work and just like what they sacrifice to get to that level. Totally. And that can be inspiring. Like you said, like, I know I can't do that. I have to work a full-time job, but seeing everything that they sacrifice in order to get to that level.
Yes.
And not just the highlight reel, but just like the true everyday grind and grit is super, super cool.
And it is so much outside of the sexy workout that gets posted, right? It's the amount of mobility they're doing before that, what they're eating, all their nutrition, right? Like that is such a full-time job in itself. and all the accessory work they're doing and how many workouts they're doing a day. Like it is extremely impressive, the things that they're doing. So it is cool to kind of get to pull the curtain back a little bit and see what they're up to on a daily basis, so that when you are seeing them on the competition floor, it's that much more impressive of like, I know how hard it is to get to where you are. Like, and that is not an accident. Yes, exactly. That is very intentional. And that is a lot of hard work.
Love it.
We almost have now the challenge of being known as having that reputation. So how do we get the everyday human to come into our gym and not feel intimidated? Right. And that's what we've really worked hard to create, is a space where even if, yes, down over there in the corner, someone is doing a crazy, awesome workout. If you're in the class with us, you've got someone trying to lose weight that's, 400 pounds. We've got someone with knee surgery. We have someone who's 80. We've got someone who's, just fresh out of college, someone who just had a baby. And so I think keeping that the focus, that's the blood, the lifeblood of the gym. And the athletes that are incredible competitors, like it's really cool to watch them do their thing. And they do raise raise the caliber of our overarching gym. But the everyday member, feeling like they're empowered too. And so we're working really hard to keep that the actual bread and butter of what we're doing, so that when you walk in, it doesn't feel too intimidating. I know the space itself can feel intimidating just because it's a big space. Right. And so how do we make sure, as coaches, we're really intentional. If we see someone walk in that looks new, hey, like, what's your name? I want to get to know you. Right. You feel seen right away. Yep. And then you're going to get that coaching attention too, so that you're going to feel equipped to know what you're doing and not feel lost in class. So it's definitely, we have unique challenges in that, which is super cool. I'm grateful that those are our challenges, but you do have to be mindful of that for the everyday person coming in to be like, no, this is for you too. And like, we're all modifying and scaling something. So it's just going to be what you need for today, no matter whether there's top tier athletes or not.
One of my funniest stories about a member, they weren't a member at the time, but they walked in, and this was in Kansas, and, asking about the gym. He comes in and it's their 9 a.m. class. So nothing but moms, all women. Yes. He comes in and he's like, is this like a girls only? Like, can I come to this class? And you don't realize like just something so simple. And it's like, oh, no, it's for everyone, but it is 9 a.m. So, we're on a military installation. So like 90% of the personnel there are military, and they're usually the male. They're male soldiers. So their spouses are at that gym at 9 a.m. And he was like, well, I'm a soldier, but can I come to this class?
Am I allowed?
Yeah, am I allowed? Yeah. And we're like, yeah. So
no boys allowed.
Just that small, people come in and they're very observant and aware. And so all that to say, if they walk in and they're brand new, like, am I supposed to be here? Right. Am I welcome here?
Right. So, is this for me too? Yep. Yeah. That's important.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Jordyn, thank you for your time today. This was really fun.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
To learn a lot about you.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny. I'm like, wait, are we the same person? Did we live the same life?
Yeah.
Just in different places. No, I'm so grateful for y'all, and just excited for what you guys are building, and the more information that's out there to empower, especially women, but everybody, all athletes, to get what they need, to both in the gym and then out of the gym, and how much that impacts everything. It's so 100%.
important. 100%.
Yeah, this is my life, my strife, my right to fight, to die on. And this is my game to play, to claim a brand new